Hello, welcome to Crystallization Culture, episode 5.
Hi, everyone.
We're doing it with a bit of a custom setup without our intro or anything. So, I'm sure it's going to be perfect.
It already is perfect.
We can actually wait for people to come in and just hang out like this, and then cut the video.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do that. This is the only time you're gonna see this footage. The secret footage. Test audio. Mic check 1 2. I want to not see all the things that it's showing me. Hi, Fabio. Welcome.
Hi, Fabio. Oh, good.
Mine's good. That's great news. Gonna add everyone on the Discord for this.
Cool.
There's one way we would do this where we just see the chat the whole time. Oh, we can just minimize the thing. Just minimize the thing. Hi, Nico. Nice to see you. We are in the preparation stage of the podcast right now. This is what's going on behind the animated cute people.
Yeah, who are not live right now because we need a video driver. Is that what it is?
But to be specific, I installed some old video drivers. Hi, Rob. I think that's Rob. Nice to see you. Oh, look at this. Our thing's advertising for us. Oh, you did it.
I did it.
Oh, I thought that was the robot.
We don't have a robot.
I thought we had a robot.
Build us a robot and then we'll have one. You saw in the future where we've already built the robot.
Yeah. I'm not sure if we want a robot though, is the thing. Oh, look at you. Okay, I think we've advertised enough. Let's start when the thing hits 5 minutes. Do we want this visible during the thing?
Not look visible during the thing. Us?
Chat. Us.
How do you change it?
We go like this.
Oh, we just reduce it?
Yeah.
I actually think having the video is up is better because then I'm gonna work on looking at you on the video and not looking at you like this.
We can. It's cute to do both. Okay. We're gonna start the podcast in 1 minute and 30 seconds.
You said it at 3:33 on the time counter. Nice.
1 minute and 30 seconds, and then the podcast is gonna start for real. This is also the real podcast. It's just the preview. Isn't mine looking beautiful today?
Thanks.
It looks so pretty. Okay. Hey, Rajiv. Are we audible? Can everyone confirm that we sound audible? We have no way to test the mic. Okay.
I think Fabio's earlier confirmation is good. Everyone can hear us.
We're both radiating.
Oh yeah.
Hear us well. Great. Okay. I'm gonna do this crisp. Wow. Maybe we could. This is just better than everything else. Okay. Loud and clear. Perfect.
Beautiful.
Okay, I'm gonna give myself like a visual indicator when. Wait, but no, it's just at 5 minutes. I know that already. Okay, it's just gonna be 5 minutes.
10 seconds. Great.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Criticizing Culture, episode 5. Nice to see everyone here, live and in the future, watching this as a YouTube video. I see you as well. Nice to see you here.
Welcome to everyone. Thank you for contributing your energies to this unfolding.
Thanks for being a part of it.
Mm.
So, there's only one thing on my mind to talk about. Me and Amanda we were talking to our deities. We were channeling some deities, Spider and Ra. And I think Ra said actually that it's like I have my own enlightenment, and then Amanda has like spider enlightenment, and our goal in this lifetime is to merge them together. So that's our personal goal. Um, and we kind of like fell into it, and it's like yang enlightenment versus yin enlightenment. And this is kind of it's kind of a bit of a theme, at least in my experience, where there's like this Sophia code type sort of divine mother, or like the divine feminine, where it's like everything's like this one divine feminine creator, or like there's this one divine masculine creator that everything is. And it seems like it's like two different portals into the same thing.
Mm. One of the things that we've been sensing into with it is that there's like, I have this tendency to become everything, and it feels like in the fabrication space of the universe where you're recognizing the inherent emptiness that everything is, and still like profoundly fulfilled in the participation in like more of it, in the knowing of the self through the extension into everything. And then this more like collapsed everything, one thing, like it has a real in breath and out breath kind of feeling to it.
Yeah, it's like yin enlightenment. It seems like when I look into Amanda's like way of being and just observe what's happening, it seems like she's just expanding more and more and more and more, and trying to become more and more and more of the universe. Well, if I look at my enlightenment, it's like you can't even, there's like nothing happening in the most absolute sense. So it's like everything's eliminated. Um, and the way I guess I would articulate enlightenment would be like the, um, there's like this living force that is everything all the time. And it becomes aware of itself in this body, mind, and spirit. So then there's no separation between like you, what you consider to be you, or anything, and like or thoughts, and this one living force that is everything already. And then once that happens, then all the separation in your experience disappears, and um, all that's left is this one living force just existing as itself and by itself. And it's like then when thoughts arise, instead of there being like a split from the present moment where there's a person who's thinking, and then there's the present moment happening somewhere else. The thoughts just occur in the present moment, so everything occurs without like a separate being. So there's no separateness apart from, and there's just this living force. So I mean, and the way that you get to that in my experience is by identifying the things that seem to be real and obliterating them completely from your experience. So if you think that there's a thing called like consciousness, recognizing that that consciousness, the idea of consciousness isn't like a separate thing in your experience, and obliterating it so much that you can see that it's just this one living truth. In the same way, if you like think that there is like a self, and then like other things, or like you're like a separate self, if you can like obliterate that sense of self, then it's like this one living force, this truth. I don't know about truth. This one living force just comes in.
Yeah, it's very different to my experience, and it feels like the difference is that it's not obliterating in the same way, or maybe it ultimately is, and it comes through the portal of integration. So it's like not recognizing that there's a me and recognizing that there's a tree, rather like flowing across the boundary between me-ness and tree-ness until I integrate tree being into my being, and there's no friction between us.
That's a really great, yeah, I think that's the difference in yin and yang approach. Is like yang is like, let me find out how this thing isn't real, and then yin is like, let me find out how this thing is real. So it's like you're looking at the tree, and then there's like this lack of connection to it, or like insensitivity to it, and then it's like, if you can fold out all those insensitivities, then you can see that you're also non-separate from the tree, and you can even like experience tree consciousness and experience your consciousness. Well, me, it's like if I see a tree, I'm like, well, trees aren't a thing, right? They're not like a thing. They're just, everything's just this like non-separate living force that is everything. So if I can just like the tree out of my existence, then I'm just left with this non-separate living force. And I feel like a Manus thing gets there too. It's like,
when you flow into tree being, right, you go from the contained human experience to the tree experience, which literally infloresces, and you can feel the pushing out into the ecosystem across all of the quote unquote boundaries, and then you can integrate that into the way of experiencing a human body, so that you know the ways in which you're similar and dissimilar, and then you can also notice those as dualities and collapse them. Like,
what's a duality like for you? What does that mean in your experience?
It's two things that seem like they couldn't possibly be true at once.
So it's like, so it's like, this thing seems true and this thing seems true, so how do I integrate these? Or is it like,
it's like, if this thing were true, how could that thing be true? And then it's finding the space of agreement.
Space of agreement.
And the space of agreement dissolves the boundary between them.
Yeah, that's my experience too. Thank you for the question, Lou. We're going to do a Q&A at the end of the podcast for all the questions in the chat, for those watching in the future and those watching now. There's another video coming soon, well, already out for you, I guess, where you can see all these questions answered and extra questions. So yeah, I feel like that's a pretty common experience then. It's just like, it seems it's like it's a lot more visceral for you. It's like, I'm like, a tree, you know, where you're like, a tree, like, it's almost like you enter a conversation with the tree and you like get super intimate with it. And then from that space of intimacy, it's like there's an unraveling of the limited perceptions.
It's really beautiful. It's really gentle. Just discerning. I guess it's not always very gentle for everyone. It depends on what your willingness to be permeable in your understanding is, right? So if you're looking for that movement, then it's really gentle and beautiful. And if you're resistant to flowing across those boundaries, then it can be pretty scary.
Don't resist things.
Yeah.
Don't resist things. So I think there's an interesting parallel here, I think, with how like jhanas are used in the Buddhist tradition, where it's like, let me do meditation so I can enter this like jhana, which is basically like a realm. It's a different space. And then like from that realm, distinguishing, like investigating the idea or the sense that everything is happening by itself, this idea that there's no being that's doing things, or like looking at how everything's impermanent. And when you're looking at it from within that realm, then it's easier to unfold things. So
that's basically, in my understanding and experience, doing this through whether it's through journey or whether it's through like heart open communion with another experience that has from a different perspective. It really is about like it being a space where a different type of knowing can unfold, and therefore that knowing can become part of my understanding and experience of the universe, whether it's like experiencing a tree or experiencing an insect's way of knowing, a bird's way of knowing, a black hole's way of knowing, a different density space being's way of knowing. And the more expansive and creative you can get in that, the more you create the universe and consume the universe for the universe's own expansion, while recognizing yourself as merely participating in the flow.
Yeah, I was thinking as well. It's like I think I get a lot of really great results in my experience, or I did get a lot of really great results in my experience. It's like when you can get yourself into some kind of not really focused state, but like it's almost like a state where you can really see like what's operating in your experience, like what's existing in your experience. And it's like by getting another angle on, by coming into your observing yourself through this angle, which is kind of like a really pure experience or state, then you can like really resolve that illusion into reality much easier than if you were just doing it just like walking around. And this sounds kind of similar. It's like it's like that's kind of like a way of knowing, right? It's like this super binary way of knowing where you're like, it's either everything or it's nothing, and you're nothing, and it's like, so you can like see the observer super easily. It's like the nothing way of knowing, the nothing realm.
And the everything way of knowing, it's just no friction between you and everything, and then you can see the observer really easily. I do think they're the same place exactly. What I think is interesting here is that this jumps really nicely into resourcing yourself from a shamanic perspective, because what we're talking about is how all of these other things have their own way of seeing, right? So anything that you can partner with and enter into has a way of seeing that it brings to you. And when you do shamanic journeying, you can choose what types of ways of seeing you want to bring into yourself so that you can be more powerful, have more presence, be more determined, have more action, have more grace, have more gentleness, have more witnessing presence, have more wisdom. And all of them are about like knowing what types of animals and like spirit animals and spirits and fae and other types of beings and other ways of being, including like patterns and cosmic effects and microbes and everything, right? Thinking about what they not thinking about, but like experiencing into, really sensing, intuiting what they bring to the world and what they see and experience the world as, and knowing that that's something that you want to bring into yourself, and then opening to journey that way. And a lot of people really like to journey with big cats, and that makes a lot of sense, because it's like I need more power and more grace and more acuity in order to exist as a magical being in this world that maybe has some resistance to that. And part of it might be to onboard stealth, and you do that through like entering into their realm and receiving the way that they are into your being.
I think I figured out this yin yang and odin thing. So if you're doing like the not self thing, where you're like gradually destroying illusions of how things are in order to get to the reality of what things are, then there's going to be like a binary swap into enlightenment, because it's almost like you don't know what reality is until you get rid of all the illusions. So it's like, let me find this illusion. Like, how is this thing real? And then you're like, oh, it's not real. And then this isn't real. And this isn't real. And this isn't real. And this isn't real. And then it's like, you kind of do like the who am I? and then it's like you get the answer of what's real, and it all comes through at once in a way. Well, I think the yin kind of alignment thing, it's like you know what's real, and then you're just making what's real bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it feels more. It feels like a floodplain suffusing.
What's that like?
Like a small cup of being gets filled up, and then a bigger cup of being gets filled up, and as it gets filled up, it becomes more alive and more populated.
Yeah, I would say that's another perspective on the same thing for sure. Perspective, yeah, it's perspective. You know, it's an like I could definitely reshape my whole experience into perceiving it the yin way, where I've just been expanding more and more into reality. Um, and I think that it's possible to flip your thing into seeing it. So it's like you're cutting away illusions to get to reality. I think that's a really beautiful thing, though. It's like you start with this cup of reality, and then it's just like, and eventually you're at the whole of reality, and then that's enlightenment.
Yeah. There's a thing that happens here astrologically where the expansion is Jupiter energy and the cutting is Saturn energy, and together they make what Karen Brad calls the agential cut, and what I haven't found the most resonant term for within myself. And it's the friction of perspective amongst the non-differentiated everything that creates being. So between expansion and the cut is those places where being bubbles out.
I feel like there's also I feel like one way you could express like the binary swap between like non-realization and realization is realizing the infinity of it. So maybe there's also like a thing with the expansion where you're expanding into more and more of being more and more of reality. There's a point where you go, oh, this is infinite, and then that's like what you could call an enlightenment experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, there's
Or I am the thing. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
I am the thing that is being expanded into. I'm not the thing that's expanding, and then that's how you realize it's infinite. I feel like that's the one.
Yeah, I gotta take that in for a sec. Because it's like the thing that's being expanded into is also the space beyond knowing, where everything expands from.
Yeah, exactly. So you collapse the duality between knowing and unknowing and realize that it's all been the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this infinite aspect to reality then.
Yeah. Well, the infinite aspect is already there in the way I've encountered things, because it's like anytime you open into a realm or way of seeing of something, that's an infinite space. So it's fractal infinities.
Nigga, can you repeat that? I'd love to repeat it. So there's like this expanding into reality. And what you realize is that you're the thing that's being expanded into. You're not the thing that's expanding. So that's kind of like this bubble of awareness, which is whatever size, right? Your bubble of awareness could be the size of like this whole galaxy. And you just realize that there actually isn't that barrier between your awareness and the reality's awareness. So then you just become merged as one thing.
Yeah, that's really good.
Thanks. We figured it out, everyone. Yeah. It's pretty interesting. What have we been up to? What have we been doing spiritually? Anything new? Anything interesting?
A million things.
We've been doing so many things.
Yeah. We went to a sweat lodge last night.
Went to a sweat lodge. What can be given to these people?
So for each of us as beings prior to coming together, we weren't really working very much with routine. We're both sort of have natural mystic aptitude, and you just sort of lean into that, and it unfolds as it unfolds, and people are you get the same results as people who have been meditating a lot with a lot of diligence, if that's your leaning. And we've started to take on both more routine and more communal shared practice. And the Sweat Lodge experience, which was beautiful and profound and challenging, was a great example of communal experience. I'd like to talk about the...
Let them know the Sweat Lodges.
Okay. Are we going to do the Sweat Lodge now, then?
Just a brief little...
Okay. So Sweat Lodge comes from multiple indigenous traditions. The one that we went to, the Temescal, the New Earth Womb Temescal, I believe was what Michael called it. Beautiful name, beautiful energy. Is from the Mesoamerican and Mayan traditions, and he went through a lineage training and was given a archangel transmission methodology for doing his Sweat Lodge. A Sweat Lodge is also really common in Northern Indigenous tradition, and what you do is you build a structure, and the inside is like wood and skins, and then the outside is more like a traditional nylon tent, and there's a fire pit in the middle, and outside they heat up lava stones in a big fire, and they bring them into the middle, and they seal up the whole thing, and then they pour water with sacred herbs in it and give blessings and ask for aid and transmission. This was a big healing one with the archangels of 4 directions. And it gets really, really, really hot and really steamy, and really like it can feel like your being is burning up. And that's exactly what you're going for, because it's a huge healing release, and it's about like getting past the part of you that is resisting the positive energies that are there to aid you.
Yeah, we've decided. So we talked to Ra, and he was like, "You guys could do a daily routine. You could do a meditation in the morning, and walking in the afternoon, and then do an evening shower after everything during the day has been done." And I think the big insight here is that the momentum of the thing continues with the intention, without the specificity, regardless of the amount of time that it's done. So you could do our morning meditation happens anytime after we wake up, where we just say like, "This is our morning meditation," and it can last from like 1 second to hours.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with the walking meditation. And what we found, and this is actually something that our Curandero talked about during the Sweat Lodge as well, is that the earth energies pick up and hold the residue of our being. And so as we walk really painful routines, we install really painful energies into the earth. And when we walk really beautiful routines and hold really beautiful energies in the space, then it builds up with Gaia and becomes this resource for us, and that radiates out into the entire rhizome of place to help heal and ground us, those around us, Gaia herself. It's really beautiful. It's a wonderful piece of practice that I didn't really understand before this, was like why you do it. Like the place where we do our walking meditation has become like a portal, and as soon as you get on the place where we walk, the energy is right there and available. And like the dog where we live has started to go over there, even though he wasn't going over there when we first got here. He's like, "Oh, the energies are great," and I'll go and he'll hang out. It's really sweet.
Yeah, so you're sort of creating a you can think of it as like there's all these empty storage containers in your experience that can be filled with energies and sort of build up over time, just with the intention to do so.
Mhm.
So just by us intending to do walking meditation every day, sometime in the afternoon for any amount of time, just by stepping on that ground with that intention, we're creating a physical space which has that intention in it, and we're also creating resonance in our beings for that thing to occur, and we're also creating it like for the whole earth in a way. So every single time that we step over there, instead of just tapping into the moment's energy, we're tapping into this like chamber full of energy that we've been creating over time, and it makes the whole thing easier. And that's what routine is in the best way.
Tai Chi practitioners know this really well. I've witnessed a few conversations where they're talking about how you're like drawing in the form, the spirit form over time. And so like you are participating in the grounding of that divine energy into that place through the form, through repetition, through time and place, and it becomes like not linear causal time, but spiral time, or the specific place time of the form.
Another thing that we've been doing a lot is light language. So it's like, I don't even know what it is. Can you explain what light language is?
Um,
It's a thing you channel that does good things, is what I know.
so everything is made of frequency, everything is made of light. And as you tune to higher frequencies, you become capable of interpreting this light as a transmission from different types of energies and entities, whether it's like a cosmic transition coming in from a star race, or it's like the literal information filtering in through the moon. I started seeing like languages on psychedelics occasionally, really rarely, and with sort of a dismissive, like regret, a little bit of like a what is this light language? As it's like in ribbons in the fabric of reality, woven into everything, being received through my visual field and then translated into impulses in the body. And my own aptitude towards it has woken up. Our friend Red Star Green Cloud is an amazing practitioner, does transmissions, and his light language transmission woke up my ability to like channel the light languages through my body, to see them more aptly, and to move key to ground those transmissions into the earth field. And then it's just been opening and opening more from us being together. More happened in the sweat lodge. A lot of it becomes more visual the more that I do it, and it's sort of interesting because it moves into a 3D type of awareness where the light is received and the body knows what to do to move it.
For me, I receive it just as impulses. So it's almost like the hands move themselves, and then I just feel it like doing a thing, and then it just like completes itself as well.
Mm-hmm.
So like it kind of does itself, and then it completes itself. And there's also like audible, like you can channel light language with your mouth, like isa ud itamota chitakula, stuff like that. I think we could do like big transmissions like that as a live. I think next podcast might just be transmissions like that instead of all this talking stuff, because it seems more effective to do the light language thing than to do the human word like translation barrier thing. It's been really nice just existing. We just like wake up, we do our morning meditation at some point during the day. We do some sessions with people at some point during the day. We do our afternoon meditation at some point during the day. Then we have our evening shower, which is amazing. I would definitely recommend if you guys have a like transitional period in your experience where you go from like interfacing with the world to being by yourself, and then then I would really recommend an evening shower, but just with the intent to cleanse, not with the intent to clean in like a physical sense, just an intent to cleanse all the energies off. And then in the same way we talked about before, where you're walking on the earth, or you're like doing the same thing, intending the same thing each day, and it doesn't matter at whatever time, right? You're intending each thing each day, and it's creating this pocket of energy in the earth and everywhere. When you're creating that pocket of energy for your shower, where it's like every time that I'm going in the shower at this time, it's a cleansing shower, then the cleansing power of the shower is being increased every single time that you do that. And you'll notice it in your experience if you just do it like for a week.
Yes. I'd also, if there's any reason that a shower is not attainable to you, you could do smoke clearing or sound clearing. It's the creating the clearing boundary in your life that is the more important piece.
So what's a smoke clearing and a sound clearing?
Sound clearing, you use oftentimes bells, singing bowls, anything with a high vibrational frequency that produces a beautiful sound that seems, well, there are some sounds that call in spirits, and those are like rattles and stuff. Bells tend to clear space, clear crystals, clear that kind of thing. So I would go with like bells and chimes primarily. And you just create the intention to clear with the sound, and then you ring until it fills the space. And a smoke clearing is, some people would call it smudging. You use a sacred herb and you light it on fire to create smoke, and then you fill the space.
Like a sage, you can get like these just like sticks of sage that you just light. You don't show the sage, just a stick of sage. So you just light it, and then you let the smoke. You have the intention to clear with the smoke, and this is kind of like it's a powerful thing to consider. I feel like it's just how powerful intention is with creating your reality. So it's like things are, and this is kind of what matters to it, the agential cut, where it's like at a certain point, like a thing's a being. In the same way, like at a certain point, a thing's a thing. And if you keep intending the same thing, either daily or all the time, or at certain points, then eventually it's going to gain momentum as a thing, and then it sort of like create itself in your experience.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a lot of enlightenment things are like that too. It's like first you're always intending to get enlightened, and then it's like it goes from like words like I am just this, I am just this experience, there's just the present moment, to like kind of having an intuitive sense of that, where you're like, I am just the present moment. I can really feel that I'm just the present moment, and it's still the same intention going. And then it's just like a being. It's like all there is the present moment, and you're not asserting it with words. It's something that's real, and it's like just by repeating that intention over and over and over, you end up in the place that you want to be. And you can do that with anything. And I'd recommend doing that with enlightenment and benefiting other beings and clearing yourself and things like that. There's a lot of that going on with sort of establishing and creating structures which are not beneficial. So yeah, and just a little question in the chat asking if like a daily 10-minute thing to share presence is a thing. Absolutely, Fabio. That's exactly it. So like anything daily with the same intention creates the pocket. Anything. So watch out, right? If you're like every morning I check my social media and I like be depressed, then that's creating a whole thing in your experience.
So this is actually part of what emerged from us having this routine, is that we now consider social media to be part of like contact with the outside world. And so after the evening shower, social media is away, and it stays away for us to develop as a couple, as our spiritual energy and our mission, without focusing like too diffusely into the rest of the world.
And it's not like no social media, we're not allowed to be on social media.
No, it's like it no longer feels resonant.
There's just a natural merging of what's appropriate once you once you expand your day life into what you intend and what resonates for you and what's right for you, we expanded it into like realizing that what we want is to co-create. We want to create things together. We want to be, one thing as a being. And one way that we do that is by bringing our energies together. And so in order to do that, we have to clear our energies of other energies. And what we noticed was social media is bringing more of those other energies into us. So it became very natural. It's like, oh, so no social media once we've cleared our energies and we want to do co-creation. And it's a really great example of how, like, if you find clarity in your mission on in like what you're here to do in this incarnation, be it to get enlightened, to find your twin flame partner and merge with them, um, or anything else, then and then integrate that mission into your day to day, then eventually everything just falls into place and there's no more forcing. And it's kind of like there's this weird instinct I feel in society or culture where it's like you go to meditate and then you're like, oh, I don't feel like meditating today. Like I'd rather do art or something to meditate. And this happened this morning. And then there can be this weird societal impulse where it's like, no, I'll just force myself to do the thing because I must be bad. If I don't resonate with doing this thing that feels bad, I must be bad. So I'll force myself to be different. And whenever that pattern occurs, that's a time to self-reflect and notice that if your resonance isn't in the thing, then it's not right to do it. It's never right to force yourself to do anything.
Yeah. And for the meditative art, there's a lot of different types of art that I do that are meditative and are channeling. And then there's ones where it's like I'm making a figure and it's really tight and it's really a different type of attention. And knowing that I can be in that expansive attention and be with the same intent with meditating opens up the experience so that it's we can sit, we can journey, we can um, trance, we can make art, and all of them are meditation, and all of them are in the intent of the routine and magnifying and amplifying the routine experience.
And there's so many different times in your life where you notice that where you could notice this thing happening where you don't feel like doing something, you don't feel like it's right to do something, maybe even have a sense of like a better thing to do. And instead of listening to your own insight and impulse into what's actually correct, you force yourself to follow follow your
Head story.
follow whatever thing you've done before or what other people do. And it's like that's really violent to your being and it feels really bad.
When things start going wrong too, when you're doing that. And the other thing is that usually that's happening around there being a lot of stories, like a lot of shoulds. I should go to this thing, I should be in this place at this time, I should be doing it this way. And what you'll find is that if you are truly in resonance, because this is the other thing, right? It's about knowing shadow resistance and the resistance to feeling good and the part of you that doesn't want to meditate because it doesn't want to be enlightened, and versus the part that is like intuitively aware that something greater could unfold for you if you did something different. And you'll find that when you lean into that intuitive awareness, the resistances fall away really naturally, and you start to find, oh, this sense that I wasn't supposed to do this now was because the plumber was just about to come through, or my sense that this should have happened, or my sense that I could allow myself to do this in a different way was actually to put me in this perfect place at this perfect moment for this perfect, beautiful unfolding that wouldn't have happened if I had stuck to the thing that I thought I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and I feel like this noticing that intention is what matters is like a really big key part of this, where it's like as long as you're intending the right thing, how it unfolds doesn't affect the intention unless you change the intention, unless the intention changes, right? So if you're intending to do meditation every day, and and you match that intention with your being when you do things, it doesn't matter how that unfolds as long as you're matching the intention and you're being earnest towards the intention. And that's a good way to notice that, like, oh, I don't need to do things this way or that way. Oh, it's working even though I'm not following these stories or ideas of how to do things. Yeah, and leaning into your psychic intuition, it's like it's fun as well. It's like when you know, here's a great thing is when your intuition, when you are listening to your intuition, if you listen to it and things go great, or like it gets confirmed. So it's like, oh, you have the intuition. Oh, I feel like I shouldn't do this right now, or no, sorry, I shouldn't. I feel like it would be better for me to do this meditation on the bed instead of on a cushion. Um, and then you go and sit on the bed, and it's like this
You have a
perfect.
Kundalini awakening that
You have a Kundalini
yeah,
awakening,
yeah.
where there's like this perfect beam of sunlight that hits you at the right time, which like amplifies your meditation. It's like, oh, it's a confirmation. Recognizing those confirmations in your experience is really important for building up your intuition and trusting it more. And intuition really is just this like one living force that is reality, sort of just like peeking its head through into your experience and giving you exactly what's going on. Because there's one way of existing where you're like, I'm a person and I'm knowing things and I know this and I know that, or even like I'm channeling things or like I'm given this thing. And then there's another way where it's like when you're in this one living force that is everything, everything is already known without it even arising. Um, so you're able to do everything perfectly with perfect knowledge of everything in the entirety of reality without like doing the knowing thing or doing the word thing in your experience. And people do that all the time without even realizing it. It's like they just do a thing and like it
They
all
just
unfolds
participate in the
perfectly.
flow.
They just
Yeah.
participate in the flow.
Yeah.
And they're just being they're like the one living force that is everything, um, just like stops producing a conditioned experience for a few moments.
A lot of people who are like desperately seeking flow because it's become such a buzzword are looking for exactly that. I mean, everyone who's desperately seeking flow is looking for exactly that, and they're trying to create it through this like precise realization
Right?
of conditions. Like flow even has like a grid thing that you're doing where it's like, oh, the challenge is at the right. And are you in resonance and flowing? Are you receptive and open? Are you refusing the conditioned obstructions? Then you're going to get flow.
Are you non-separate from the present moment? Then you're in flow.
Yeah.
Mm. And it really is just an effortless like as soon as if you, it's really obvious when there's a being, there's like a thing happening extra to what's happening where there's a being doing things. And when that isn't there, it's effortless because there's no being created. So there's no like thing that's being like, I'm a being and it's being affected by things. So it is just effortless flow when there's no being, which is like this no self thing, right? Where everything's happening by itself.
I want to offer that even when you have the conditioned layers and all of this experience of friction, it's still flow. It's the ignorance that you are always the creator creating the experience you want to have. And when you come into awareness of it, both you recognize the friction as having been the thing all along, and you stop creating friction in your experience.
Yeah, this one living force that is everything without anything arising uh, at all is everything, including all of the unawareness of itself, and it chooses to be aware of itself when it wants to. Mm. And a good way to get there is to say out loud, I want that thing.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to realize that everything is the one living force. Mm. And then it's like it's the thing creating your experience. So and it knows everything, so it knows that you want it. So as soon as you start wanting it, it starts unfolding itself into your experience and outfolding all of the conditioning.
Yeah. Another way that I experience this is that all world lines are extant, all possibilities are already true. And so there is one where you already have this, there infinite where you already have this perception. There's infinite where you have this perception in the next moment, and you are choosing what you're perceiving. So you can step into the perception anytime you're open.
It really is just about openness. If you're open and you want it, you have it. Do you feel right to move into Q&A?
I was just gonna say this feels really resolved.
Thanks so much for watching the. Oh, do you want to make it part of the same video?
We can move on to Q&A and stay here. We can split them up after the fact if we wanted to. Is that doable? Or is that not? I don't know what the tools are. We can just make it part of the same. We can check the pendulum.
We're going to ask a pendulum on if we're going to do a Q&A right now, or if we're going to make a new live stream.
I say keep it here.
We're keeping it here. I had an instinct that we were going to keep it here. Like 4 days ago, and I forgot. Okay, guys, Q&A time. Anyone got any questions? Any thoughts? We're so open.
We had one earlier in
No,
the chat.
no. They ask it again because they might not be here still. We're gonna answer someone's. Then they'd love to receive it here. We'll just psychically alert them. Hey, anyone who had a question while we were talking, you
I
can
think that
come
this
back.
obliteration question is a good question and resonant to answer regardless of if the querent is present.
Okay. We're gonna answer the questions that you guys asked during the. Louis, you still here? We're gonna answer your question. How does one act that out, obliteration? Just what Amanda said earlier. You just notice the dualities, and you notice how actually they're the same thing. So you're like, oh, there's a self. Oh, there's like this thing that isn't the self, and you're like, wait, how does it? How can there be like a self? Okay, so there's a self and there's a not self, but like I'm kind of creating the not self, the environment too, right? Because I'm like shaping it with my actions, and also like the way I perceive is like based on my like self things. I know like, oh, the environment's kind of like shaping myself too. So it's like, how are these even different actually? And you can just kind of like keep going down that angle. And then when it's like, then you go, bah! And that's alliteration.
There's this thing that science has observed, and I don't think science proves anything. I think that it observes things, and sometimes that observation is fun for us and supportive of the things that we understand. There's this thing that science has observed where when really rapid learning takes place, neurons will blow apart and reestablish themselves in new ways. Just like completely new thing that they saw. And it resonates with me as being part of what
a fun story
of what's happening here, a way that they're able to observe this like resolving of conceptual things as they're stored inside this container.
I do feel a lot of things in the brain area. So that's my scientific observation. We're going to need a lot more enlightened people to, report on that to get a good p-value. Super fun.
Yeah.
Once more, Nico asked for once more on the explanation of yin enlightenment. So it's kind of like you know that there's something that's real, and you're expanding what's real. You're like, oh, but actually, like this is also part of like this reality that I'm participating in. Like this is also like this true experience, and you just keep expanding that, and you can kind of see it as like you've got this circle of awareness of the reality that's like expanding and expanding and expanding and expanding and expanding. And the enlightenment realization isn't that the thing expands all the way. It's that the thing that's expanding the thing is what you're expanding into the whole time. So the thing that's expanding it is the same thing as it's being expanded into. and then it's like the living force that is this one reality noticing itself. Since anything happened by itself, my own suffering has really happened, nothing to do or do not. Well, Nico, that is also created by this one living force, that idea and that question and that thought. So you can think anything and it's this one living force. You can think that you're gonna, if you do this series of practices, then you're gonna get enlightened, and that's the one living force. And it's creating reality in every moment. So create realities for yourself. The one living force that is inside Nico right now would probably prefer to create realities for itself where it ends up knowing itself sooner rather than later. And that can be done just by recognizing that it's possible, because everything's possible when you are in tune with this infinite reality, which you already are.
One of my favorite definitions of magic that I've read is the ability to pivot in smaller and smaller units of time. And we do that with the understanding that we are pivoting inside the expansive reality, not a contracted reality. And so expanding into the capacity to pivot in smaller units of time is allowing you to have more acuity with what you choose to perceive inside those moments. And so while there is nothing to do or not do, there is always the choice to pivot in what you're perceiving. And this is also like Buddhist chode, right? You can perceive the hell realm or you can perceive the heaven realm. They are unfolding in every moment. They're present in every moment. And what is changing is the positioning of the apparatus, the positioning of the understanding of the perceiver, the positioning of whether you're like here in your attention or whether you're here in your attention or whether you come out into the I am in your attention. And all of that is not doing anything.
Yeah, it's almost like the idea of doing or non-doing, or doing something or not doing something, or already happening, is just another form that this one living truth is creating for itself to experience. And if you recognize that, then you can find more beautiful, fun, resonant things to create for yourself instead. Okay, if anyone has any more questions, we'd be happy to answer them. If not, that's okay too. We can call it here.
Yeah.
And happy to wait a little bit if anyone wants to formulate one. Did you hear anything during the podcast where you're like, huh, what's that about? I would love to hear more about that. We're happy to just out a whole thing if desired. Give it a couple minutes. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Fabio. How do you say hello in light language? I don't think they have hellos.
I believe that there are many different types of greetings and that they may in fact be the first impulse, and it contains more of a holonic translation, like this is my being, right? Which is also hello.
Yeah, I don't really interpret it. I just channel it. Yeah, they're always doing like 80 things more. They're doing like 80 things with one word. So they wouldn't be like, hello. They'd be like, this is my whole being that I am, that everything is, would be like a hello. And it would be like conveyed like this. Yeah, I think we might transition to like transmission videos and stuff. Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be really fun.
I think we're going to transition. This might be the last podcast.
I also like talking, and there might be a more resonant container for doing it.
Yeah, like talking transmission videos.
Oh.
Where it's like yin enlightenment transmission from Hanjin Amanda.
Rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of power there. Cool. I try to start our team something comes for stops and distractions. So there's two different things that are going on there that are resonant with something we talked about before, because there's either the part of you that doesn't want to be well, arises with fear that it's going to be removed. Or you're trying to start a routine that's non-resonant and your intuition is trying to tell you not to do that routine. And it takes discernment to feel into which one's happening. And usually I would say, like, the more open you are as a being, if it's not working, then it's probably not for you. Whereas if you feel a little bit more dense and a little bit more like I'm still in this like real struggle around like fear and surrender and all of these other things, then it's probably about the piece that doesn't want to change.
Hi, Red.
Hey,
We mentioned you in the podcast.
we did. We chatted out
language.
your transmissions because they're so powerful and amazing. And we love you.
That's true. Okay. Unless anyone has one more question, we're going to call it right here. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. We do provide crystallization culture sessions. Thanks for the suggestion, Rob, of the group meditation. We will consider it with discernment, probably after the session, rather than give an answer now. Yeah, adding something to our routine is like a whole thing. Yeah, if you want to expand into your true being as you are, perfected, and notice in yourself these realities, open your chakras, as it might be called, where you become what your highest potentiated self. Me and Amanda provide energy sessions where we do work on your energy body and transform you right there in the session into an entirely new, much more powerful and potentiated being.
Yeah, it's very much exactly what you need in the moment. So it offers transmissions, energy body healing, past life, timeline manifestation, current life trauma healing, just like everything that we can give you that you're able to receive in the hour session.
Yeah, and it's just what you're open to. So if you can maximize if you're open to fully receive, full body healing of all your chakras and completely opening into your highest potential, we can give that to you. So that's one thing we offer. Amanda offers shamanic mentoring. I offer enlightenment sessions if you want enlightenment.
Yep. I'm also offering natal chart readings right now. I'm having a really fun time doing astrology readings, and would be delighted to do some shamanic healing sessions that are like journey sessions for animals, and like resourcing you with power connections and connecting you to certain spirits and allowing you to receive their medicines.
So Amanda can sort of give you a portal in yourself into a medicine spirit or animal, which is going to then heal you through that portal connection that you're entering into. And it occurs in imaginary experience, and that's also a service that she offers.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, everyone. Thanks so much for watching.
It was great to see you all.
Really appreciate sharing these light language transmissions with you. And excited to give you guys more transmissions in the future. Bye.
Bye.
Excited for it, Nico. Excited. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye. Love you all.